You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. Driving you mad.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the show. Today we have Miss Margie McLean and then Miss Kathy Griggs. So everyone say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Kat. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get the thing started. So
hello, everybody. What's up? I just want to say the intro music, though. The intro music. Like, I want to know where you got that from, because that sounds like some serious Twilight joint.
It comes from the Matrix, from the soundtrack from the Matrix.
Mm-hmm. It's close to Twilight Zone, just so you know. I was like trying to, I was using my AI. I was using my AI.
It's on Queen Sugar also. Yes, it's the intro for Queen Sugar also.
Yeah. So it's only like I said, it's a soundtrack, because as soon as I heard it, I don't know what I was doing, but I heard it. I said, "Oh, I gotta use this." I said, "This is perfect."
I love it.
Like you want to take the blue pill or the red pill? What pill you gonna take? Which one you want to know? You want to hear the truth, or you want to keep living in the fantasy world? Which one you want to go? So that's why I said, "Yeah, I gotta have my
the blue, the red, and the white."
Yep.
Where are we going with the white one?
The Nile.
Right.
Oh, there it is, right there. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a nice little conversation with Miss McLean, and she's going to give us some information about herself, who she is, why she does what she does, and then how she kind of get us some input in reference to what she thinks about the community. So, Miss Margie McLean, tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Margie McLean. I am a native of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Been back maybe about 6 years now, and I'm excited to work in the community. Started an organization called Margie McLean Foundation, and it actually really started from me doing a mentoring group with young ladies called Ladies Equality, which I took from my high school that we started at Terry Sanford, and started working with those young ladies, seeing that they needed some mentoring down at St. Paul's High School. When I moved to the Virginia area, I actually started in a high school there, and just saw where it just kind of blossomed for the young ladies, just to even see where they're at now. And then it just blossomed into more, where we're now working on community engagement, working for families, looking at financial enrichment, educational enrichment, mental health enrichment. And so it just kind of blossomed from one program to the next. And I also do a life coaching business as well. I wrote a book about self-love, which is a self-love journal for the love of me. And I do a course with that as well. And so I'm taking it from every facet, not just looking at ourselves, but also looking at self-love within the church, self-love within education, and making sure that we love ourselves enough to make the right decision for us. So just excited about where 2025 is going to be taking me with both organizations.
Okay. So what made you decide to get involved with doing things with the community? What was the thing? What was the what was the thing that motivated you to do these things?
You know what? What motivated me the most was our youth. Seeing that they didn't have any guidance. That was the biggest thing. Becoming a teacher in 2004. And like I said, working at St. Paul's, I saw that it was a need for the young ladies to have a mentor. You have a lot of people working in the school systems, but no one is actually pulling the kids in and just breathing life into them. And so a lot of the young ladies didn't have that much guidance. And so like I said, I started with Ladies Equality. We started doing community service, moving the young ladies to different places so they can see how people are living in other areas, as well as just making sure that they know just because you made this one mistake doesn't mean that's the end all be all. And it's another facet to life. From there, I started working with the parents. When I moved to Richmond, I was a behavioral health counselor as well as a teacher. And so I started not only just working with the kids, I started working with the parents, and then it just became a whole family dynamic to where I was working with both. And so I'd still talk to some of those youth there, but just kind of looking and seeing that some of our organizations that I see that have these nonprofits are really not doing nonprofit work. And so we're just missing it somewhere. It's a gap somewhere. And because we got all these nonprofits in the in the community, but our youth are still falling behind. So I know I can't take all of the youth, but I feel like I should be able to at least impact at least 1, 2, 3, at least 10 or 30 to make sure they make the right decisions in life.
You already answered my next question, because I was going to say, what do you think of the climate of our community? What's your outlook on our community?
You know what? Moving back from, I think moving away and moving back, I kind of see that the climate is still the same from moving back from 10 years ago that I moved. I still see that there's still some lack. And there are some organizations that's doing some really good things, but I think that it's some organizations that are out here, they're getting the grant money, but I really don't see what they're doing. And I really don't see the impact that they're making. They have the name, but I don't see the impact that they're making. And so then you have little ones like myself who spend most of her money out of pocket, but there's impact at the same time. And so I think that's my biggest thing. And then the other thing that I see with the climate is we're still kind of in a slave mentality situation where if my name is not on the flyer first, then I don't want to work with you. If I'm not getting the recognition, then I don't want to do it. I see where instead of us working together, if me and Kathy are doing the same project, why can't we come together and make it a big project versus I'm going to do it my way and she's going to do it her way. And I've seen that happen even with the community baby shower. I do a community baby shower. This is my 6th one coming up in April. And I work with some organizations. I had them come in to help donate, what so have you. And so I know what their platform is, which is possible.
I got one question, Marjorie. I had to ask, not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Is it more with Black people? And are they women that's stopping it, or men when it comes to when you're doing events? That's my question. Black men or Black women or both?
From what I see is us, majority of us who don't work together, and it is us women who don't work together. Because it's more, to me, more women organizations. Think about your sororities, your D9, you think about all these other different organizations that may not be D9, but it seems like they don't want to work together. I would say I have more support from some male organizations than I did more so than females. And going back to my point, working with this one organization, I felt like the next year it would be great for us to work together. Maternal health versus I'm doing community baby shower, just making sure that women get the materials that they need. And also not just getting free things, you getting resources, information as well. And then the following year, trying to work with this organization, didn't hear anything from it. And then next thing I know, I see a flyer of them doing the same thing I'm doing. And I was like, did that make any sense? So I was like, we could have just came together and did a big one. Not even just, it could have been a spring one and it could have been a fall one. There's other different cities, different areas, so that's the things that I see here in Fayetteville. And I love my city, but I just see some things that it's just disheartening.
And I think that's a common thing that I saw. I mean, I was doing things like on a low end for years. For 12 years, I was on the low end of doing stuff for the community, which I was just providing free DJ services. But then this past year, when I got more involved, I'm seeing the exact same thing that you're seeing, to where instead of us, like, just like if you look at all the nonprofits that we have, there's no reason why we should have that many nonprofits doing the exact same thing.
Right.
It should be where we, like, if you have one nonprofit take the lead, then most people who want to do that same thing or that same goal, we just jump on board. And that's what I was doing throughout this past year. Was I didn't just come up and I don't have a nonprofit at all. I just jumped on board and supported those nonprofits that needed help and assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the issue, is we're not working together to solve anything. It seemed like a competition and arguing and fighting.
I was getting ready to say the same thing.
Let's say the money. Yep, that's what it all boils down to. And I think that's one of the things that we need to learn. We really need to learn how to do better together, because we have all these resources coming into our community. Like, when I say resources, I'm talking about the money,
Right.
but yet the money is not being properly utilized. It's not being, it's going to the wrong people. They're doing, I mean, when I say the wrong people, it's like the ones that are really not doing their job, not doing the work, not the boots on the ground that actually see the problem and can actually come back and say, hey, we can fix this. So like me, I'm looking, if we got over 2,000 nonprofits, we should be booming as a community. I mean, almost all the problems should be resolved. But when we're down in the trenches, boots on the ground, I see you every time I'm out. I see, I mean, we're constantly crossing paths.
Yeah.
And the ones that are getting stuff done, I see on a regular basis. The ones that that are getting the awards and getting all these great things, I never see them out here with us. So it makes me wonder, like, what's going on, that's going to be next week when we talk about where's the money. Because
one of the things that Kathy beat me to it. I see what she put in the chat. One things I notice is when people want to start nonprofits, because I help people get their nonprofit up and running. And so one of the things I notice is they saying, well, I want to do this business, but I think I want to do it as a nonprofit because I want to get grant money. I'm like, okay, that's good. But at the same time, what is your focus and what are you trying to do? Should it be a for-profit or should it be a nonprofit? But really, they think that because they get this grant money, they can just spend it any way they want. And that's a lot of times people go for nonprofit because they just want the money to get started. It's really a for-profit business, honestly, but they do it, they twist it to be a nonprofit so they can get the grant money, and they still not doing it correctly. They just spending money. They don't have no accountability. They don't have a budget. They don't do not everything that they need to do. They don't know to do. They just know they want grant money, and that's it. And so then that's when you get in trouble by spending this money, getting a car and things like this and all kind of stuff. You spending money, and then you get in trouble with the government. And that's the issue. You have no accountability because the government going to come back with this grant and say, okay, what did you do with it? I need to see receipts. I need to see what you've done. What's your program? And they don't even know to even write a proposal, nothing. They just get it to start so they can get this money. And then I see where you have a particular focus and mission. And because this grant says the money is for this particular program, now what you do is you write a program to get the grant, but your program has nothing to do with your mission. You just getting the money and you automatically write this program, and then you wonder why your program don't work well. You didn't put any thought into it, into your proposal. You just created a proposal just to get money, and that's it. And now no effectiveness in the community. People wonder who you are. Nothing. You just spending money, and then you go over budget. So it's a lot to it when we talk about starting a nonprofit and really what we're doing with it, where the money going, who's giving the money. So yeah.
And I think that's the biggest part to me is just when I first got deeply involved with this past year, I thought grant money was crack money because people were doing crazy stuff just to get this grant money. So I was joking at the very beginning because I really didn't know what was going on. I just noticed that all these individuals were going crazy to get this money. And I was like, okay, so grant money is a new crack money. It was a joke I put on social media. And a lot of people said, you're absolutely right, because you'd be surprised. People cutthroat doing all kinds of things to get this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but then where is this money going? Because after spending 1 year, boots on the ground, working with individuals who need help, majority of the help that I got, my financial supporting, either it came from my company or it came from people donating money to my cause when I was posting on social media. And then like I see you, and I see Erica, I see Lindsay, I see Mr. Carl Pringle, I see all of them out here doing the work. And then also even Bishop, Doctor, I see them all doing the work. But then I'm starting to wonder, okay, they're not getting any grant money.
Right.
So what's really going on? I know, like, I stand corrected. There's 2 people that are getting grant money. They just start getting it. But I'm just sitting here trying to figure out, like, if we're out here making things happen and we're not getting any grant money, dang, just imagine what the people getting the grant money is doing. They must be doing some extremely great things. They must be really like taking care of a lot of people, but we don't really see that in the community because
it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right.
So if you in the group and it's who you know. And a lot of things I noticed too is, grant money is it's who you know who would tell you about this grant money. And you have to be kind of in the clique or in the crowd or amongst whoever can tell you about this money. You have to be in. It's almost like you got to pay for it because you got to pay for all these different organizations to be in it to know about it.
Right.
And by the time the person who really is doing the work find out about it, it's almost too late. I noticed some of the grants that they have here in Fayetteville. One I tried to apply for, and they tell you to click on this link. But Lord, it's almost like you got to go through a maze just to find out how to actually get to the application. So it's just a lot that I see as far as how they do it, how accessible it is to people who really need it. I don't think it's as accessible as it should be.
Right. And I just
want to ask a question. Are we talking about federal funds or non-federal funds? Because when you talk about grant, you got to talk about 2 different ones. Because you got the city funds, which is considered federal funds. Right. Then you have nonprofit foundations that give out money, and then other nonprofits that give out support money to nonprofits. So I just want to see what funds we're talking about. Because see, for Fayetteville Pat, we get a lot of funds and grants from our partners that we have for over we're almost 10 years in. So the support comes from them. You know what I mean? Because we have different organizations. Because we got Block, North Carolina Block, that we've been with ever since we started Fayetteville Pat. And they are a part of the entity that helped build the Black businesses. So we can get support money for anything that has something to do with the community of building Black power. You see what I'm saying? So we'll go to them for that part. But for us, we do everybody. So we'll go to our other partners and say, hey, we need support for this because we're doing everybody.
But you know what, Kathy, I think that's good information to know.
We don't get no money for that. Our police accountability intake cases we don't get money for that. That's something.
And I think that's good to know. But the problem that I see in Fayetteville is, and not speaking of, with you, but the problem I see in Fayetteville is once I get the information, I ain't sharing it. Right. And that's amongst us. That's what I see.
I think what it also consists of, and I just want to make sure we're clear, there's some people that's not open to do partnership, right? And in this type of work, you have to have a relationship. You have to have a reputation as well. Because if your reputation is jacked up, you embezzling money, stealing money, people ain't going to want to work with you, right? But then also it's the developing of the relationship part, right? Because there's people that I can go to anytime for any money at any time, which I did the other day. And they were like, well, how much do you need? What do I write the check to? So stuff like that is what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, we got to understand that this is a business. Like you said, this is a business. And we got to treat it like a business. So we got to remain professional, integrity, transparency, all that comes apart as being, and we have that problem with nonprofits not being transparent. They still into stuff, like you said, they still stuff that you came up with. This is what I came up with, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. Yeah. There's a lot of that. I've sat back and seen it happen too many times where I see the person come up with the idea, they do it together, and then the very next month or within the next month or two, they're doing the exact. And it's like, it's so crazy because, like, if you look at a typical Saturday here, here in Fayetteville, you got like 5 people doing the exact same thing.
Hey, let's use the Santa Claus. Can we use the Santa Claus thing? Because this weekend, this weekend you have like 7 toy drives, right?
Yes.
Right.
And it's for the same type of kids, low income, displaced, homeless. And I'm like, you know, and Fayetteville Pack, we like, okay, we're going to dedicate it to this area because we don't want this area to receive more than what they're going to do. Because we've seen, and you can call our president, we've seen people take stuff home. Like we've seen people take stuff from the food bank, put it in their car, and they're supposed to be helping and volunteering to assist the people. And we're at the second harvest, and they're putting trays and trays in their car before we even started, Mario. Before we told everybody to start driving up. Okay, we have seen that people still.
And it's illegal for them to do that by second harvest regulation. It's illegal for them to do that, and that's something that is like in their book. And and me, you know, coming up in the military, black and white regulation. That's always been my big thing, is to find out what right looks like, and it needs to be properly enforced. And and you're right. I mean, that has been some things I've seen with some of the other organizations, to where, you know, they get all this money that's donated. They go out and purchase stuff, and then when people don't show up, you can see them putting stuff, and it's like, they can be putting it up for another thing, but you just don't. It doesn't look right because of how they're going about doing it. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. And then one of the things I look at also is like you just said a few minutes ago, we got 7 different toy drives this weekend, this Saturday, and instead of everybody coming together to do one big one, because then I look at, we got one for shoes, we got one for bikes, we got one for toys, we got one for clothes, we got one for blankets.
Let's not talk about the bike lady though. The bike lady, I love her. The bike.
No, I'm just saying that there's so many of them, to where all these resources could be consolidated together. Yes. And then it could be one big thing as a community. But we do this every time there's a big thing, everyone has their own thing. And to me, it's like,
backpack is coming up. It's gonna be like 400 backpack events.
Right. When it comes time to go back to school, right? You have all these going back to school type projects. But that's just something that, again, I'm not sure if it's because for me, I'm not from here, and that's why I'm going to ask the next question, because I know me and Kathy, we're not originally from here. So you was born and raised here. Yep. What have you seen that is different than when you was young growing up? Has anything changed?
Coming back, to me, it don't seem like anything changed. It seems like the mentality is the same. I mean, like I said, I left and came back. 10 years gone, came back. And I think that's one of the things I was talking to my friend. Like the mentality seemed like it's still the same amongst organizations. Like you said, you have all of these different, you have all these different organizations doing the same thing. Now, personally, I have a friend in Greensboro. When I was living in Greensboro, she would do a feeding program for college students, because after a certain time, the college students don't have anything to eat. Campus shut down, everything shut down, and they still hungry, what so have you. And sometimes some kids don't have anything in their dorm. So what she started was like this feeding around the city. So you may be in one section. I may say, hey, I'll do feeding in this section, but it's in different parts of Greensboro. Everybody doing it the same day at the same time. That way, wherever the student is, they can get something to eat. They get something to, and it's just everybody doing it together at the same time. And I feel like that would be something that we could do here in Fayetteville. If you had the backpack program, everybody shouldn't be in Fayetteville. There's other parts on the outskirts of Fayetteville. Somebody need to go across the river. Nobody, I don't see anything happen across the river. And I said that at the city council. Right, and I don't know if anything's been done yet, but I said that at the city council.
What's considered
the Cape Fear
area? There's nobody out there. I was working at Sunnyside Elementary, begging for people to come out there and help with it, and nobody do anything out there in that way. And I remember being in the food line off of 301, and I heard I think we had that bad storm that came and flooded, and for me to hear a worker said they don't care about this side of town, they don't care about this side of the river. I'm like, that's telling. I'm shopping and I hear them saying they got flooded, and hear somebody say they don't care about this side of the river, and that's kind of how it feels. And so I started doing some things over there, doing a coat, doing coats and things over there, doing toy drives, started doing some stuff, trying to ask people to come over there. But why are we in the same vicinity of Fayetteville? And like you said, everybody doing the backpack program on the same day. Same thing with the, I think one of the things I saw with the Juneteenth as well. You got Rayford, you got Fayetteville, you had Hope Mills, and everybody doing Juneteenth, doing Juneteenth on the same weekend.
I don't do.
Why didn't y'all come and talk to each other and say, "Hey, I'll do it this Saturday, you do yours next Saturday," so everybody still can get that support? So now you have people kind of jumping from place to place, and everybody doing Juneteenth on the same day. It makes no sense to me.
I don't do. I don't agree. I don't agree with us receiving funds to celebrate our victory per se from slavery. Fayetteville PAC does not do Juneteenth. And for the city to use over $175,000 last year to sponsor a Juneteenth program that had nothing to do with Juneteenth, right? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. So, when it comes to Juneteenth, I really think a historian person should be involved, along with other Black leaders and, philosophers. But when they did it in the city, no, that was a lot of money. But I also think because of the federal funds and the state pot giving money for diverse, because that's what they do, diverse activities and events, right? Once they give that money to the city, they should have an oversight committee to determine if all those groups are doing exactly what's supposed to be done from the RFP, but they don't have oversight. And you always got to have oversight. You have to have oversight in everything because everybody is not legit. We done had 3 different county managers in the last 7 years. We done went through that many people. And then the economical development people, 2 from the city and the county different. So what I'm trying to say is, we gotta have some oversight, because how is the city staff receiving bonuses if you can't even retain your economical development person? And the economical development person tells you the budget, gets the money from the federal level and state level for these nonprofits. So, how does that look? Like, where's the application for that? Like, you just because you work somewhere, you get in there. You know what I mean? Just because you're a cousin or because you did accounting, that means that you're highly qualified to do a budget of a whole city. I mean, of 400, 300 something thousand people. No, I'm being serious. Like, we have to vet people because we're giving bonuses to our city staff, which is a part of our taxpayer money. But yet and still, they're getting bonuses every time we turn around from our own money, but they're not even staying here longer than 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
So there's no retainability there. So we need to make sure we're investing in the right people. So like you, Marjorie, you lived here all your life. Then you come back here. You should be the one up there in the staff telling them what to do for the nonprofits.
Right.
They should have a nonprofit person that has serious experience and from here, because that means we're investing in you because you lived here. You're from us.
Right.
Versus people coming from Texas and Michigan.
Right. And then the thing is, she's gone away and came back. So she has an open mind. Right. She has an open mind. Because what I've learned about Fayetteville is they seem to have a closed mind of what, like, if they're not from Fayetteville, it's different. But for those that are here and have never left, they have a closed mind on what's expected. And that's my next question was the mindset. When you was here growing up and now you left and you came back, the mindset is pretty much still the same, isn't it?
Yeah, the mindset is still the same. I when I left and came back, it was totally different when I was living in, the Northern Virginia area. And so you see how people work well together. We work well together. We support each other. But then coming back, it has been hard trying to get this nonprofit up and running the way I have had it running in Northern Virginia. It has been difficult. It's definitely been difficult trying to find people who believe in what you do and want to support it without just trying to take what you do. or I haven't come up with it. They're trying to take your ideal and use it as theirs. And so it's trying to, like I said, trying to get us to learn how to work together and not separate it, trying to work together and make sure that we do what's best for the community. That's the hard thing that I see here. I don't know if it's a North Carolina thing or what so have you.
I'm gonna keep this all 100 because I'm going to the 100. This is where the Camden, New Jersey of Kathy Griggs come out. All right. So you have a life coaching business. Mm-hmm. Now, I've noticed that even with your mental health events that you put on, there was 3 that I did see last year that mirrored your event. We're not going to say who the people are that took it.
Right.
Okay. But they was not life coach experts. Mm-hmm. Right. So when we're talking about life coaching, you know, we have a Pacific county commissioner that claimed she was life coaching. But she got a certificate from a non-credited school. Mm-hmm. Right. And the certificate only took 25 hours. So this is another thing. Let's talk about credentials. Credentials mean a lot. So when people are filling out these nonprofits, right, we need to make sure they're properly trained and they have the credentialing of understanding not only what the grant consists of, but what they're laying out to the people, because miseducation and misinformation also plays a part in grant funds. Mm-hmm. So let me ask this question, because I always wanted to hear it from a life coach, a legit one. Let me make sure. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm serious, because we also had a city council member that thought she was a life coach. She actually hosted 2 events, Mama's Boot Camp. I didn't know what the fuck that was. Yeah. Baby Mama's Boot Camp. You can look that up later. Tisha Waddell. Okay. So, I didn't know what the hell Baby Mama Boot Camp meant, because I was like, isn't that kind of derogatory towards the Black people? Why would you call something baby mamas? You can Google that later. But anyway, what is the credentials as a life coach? I just want to know, like, what is your education credentialing?
So for me, I went to a school online. I did go to a school online and I took it, but it was more than 25 hours of that. And then we had to work where we actually did a session. And then my other credential is I actually do sessions. And then I was a behavioral health coach, like I said, in Richmond. So I done that as well, which was kind of intensive home. And so with that being said, working with that and also being a teacher, I'm an educator as well, that actually helped me to be able to do that. So for life coaching, we got to make sure that they know the difference between life coaching and counseling. One, I'm not a counselor. I'm just here to listen to what you want to do and kind of hone in. And like I said, as you can see in the back, transform your mind to doing what you really want to do. Because a lot of times we want to do things, but we just don't have that mindset to do it. So that's my job, is to help you navigate to the things that you want to do and get your mind open. So we have to make sure that we know the difference between life coaching and counseling. And even with me, I've done what we call therapeutic painting, but I'm not a therapist, but I do kind of like a mental health thing through painting with the kids, and it's kind of soft music. I'm also an SEL, did get certified as a yoga instructor and an SEL coach as well. So I just got that, I think, last summer. So I do that with my kids. I do that with with our teachers. So you have to be able to make sure that you're able to talk. You have to make sure that you know what you're doing, because it's somebody's life in your hand.
Right.
So you have to know what you're doing when it comes to that. You know, if you have somebody that's going through a mental health issue, this is not the time for you to be trying to counsel them, because you don't know what you're doing. I'm not a therapist. I would then move them and give it, say, hey, I got a soror who is a therapist. This is not my area. Okay, it's now time for me to transfer you to that person. So that's what we
tell you after you telling me all your credentials. Guess what? For this Pacific RFPs that they put it down, if you read them thoroughly, you're overqualified. Because you know why? Half of them credentialings don't say that. Go look on the RFP. Look at the RFP for the youth development grant, and then they just put out another youth development grant in the city. You might want to look at that one. None of it says you have to be certified.
Oh, wow.
And that's one of the things I've learned. Now,
you can also be overqualified to receive funds. See, that also plays a part. You can be very much overqualified. And then also you got to look at it too when we're looking at RFPs, is because especially for the city here in the county, which I had, learned in my early development as FavoPAC, because FavoPAC does not take federal or state funds, just so we're clear, nor city, because we don't want to have any type of policy that tells us we cannot support any groups. Because that also plays a part. Because it will tell you the age that you can support. It will tell you the people you can support. It can tell you the people you can service. So we don't want to have limitations. We want to service everybody. Everybody matters to us, and everybody count, no matter what race, gender, or sex, right? So, but there is an RFP that's in there that I know somebody got, by the way, for life coaching that's not certified, by the way, and you know her. We're not gonna say her name, but you know her. By the way. But what I'm trying to say is they got this grant for $7,000. They got this grant last year, Marjorie. I haven't seen nothing. Not an event, not even a virtual event. But guess what the RFP said? You don't have to report but one time at the end. So they're going to fudge all the numbers. Yeah. They're going to fudge everything because there's no requirement of receipts. Yeah. That's the other problem. There's no accountability in some of these RFPs from the city nor the county. Wow. So we as the people, taxpayers, us, not even just nonprofits, but as taxpayers, we should say, hey, if we're giving this money from our taxpayer money to invest in these groups to assist the city and the citizens, why is there no accountability? Why can't we see receipts?
And normally grants, when you write grants, they ask you for a website. They want to see what you already done before they give you this money. And that's what I noticed about a majority of the grants that I write for. They want to see what you already done. Not you just starting off and I'm just going to give you this $5,000. Let's see what you have. And see, for me, that's why I do my website. I do my social media. I got a video I've done showing how I started to now. You can't say that I haven't done anything over the years and I'm just trying to get money. You can actually see what I've done, So I think we need to make sure that when we're writing for these grants and giving us grant money out, you need to make sure that you, like you said, a vetted organization that I'm giving this money to. And that's
you're
what
a black
I said.
Woman and you're overqualified, Margie. That's the answer.
Unfortunately,
you're a black woman that's in the city. No, I'm being serious. They don't want anybody. You got to remember, some of these cities and counties want to keep getting money from the federal pot. For them to get money from the federal pot, they got to show failure somewhere. So if I invest in a 2-year nonprofit, I know they ain't gonna get. They're not going to go anywhere, but guess what? I'll still be getting the money from the federal pot. Remember, because the federal pot stops if you over exceeding, right? That's true. That also plays a part in money. Like when we're talking about money, which you'll be talking about next time, Mario. At the end of the day, you got to follow the money, because if the city does not use the federal money, it goes back into the federal pot. So
I never, I never thought about that, Kathy, where you get an organization that is going to fail, so the city can say, "Hey, we still need some more help." And let me get some more money. I never really thought about it that way.
And that's where that's an agenda is, and that's the reason why I'm glad she brought that up, because that's the pattern that I'm seeing is they'll give it to someone that's not going to be effective with it. They might get a little bit done, but it's like, okay, why did you give it to them where this person over here is more qualified to get it done, but if you get it done too quick, too fast, too hurry, then it makes y'all don't really have a problem because they did that too easy.
Right.
So, and I think that's the issue that I'm seeing, is that here we see it crystal clear that there's a profit to be made off of poverty. And there's so much of that going on, because if we really want,
that's a whole different call, sir.
Yeah.
That's a whole different call.
I mean, because
like that's another can you don't open.
At the activists say, don't choose profit over people. That's one of our slogans as activists. Always people over profit.
But that's just one of those things that I've noticed, is that there's a lot of money coming in. And I mean, between the number of nonprofits that we have to the number of how much funding is coming into the community, there's something missing in this piece, because like what Kathy was just saying, like, it makes perfect sense to where, why give it to somebody who's going to get it done correctly? Because then we can't keep pulling that money in.
Yeah.
So we give it to somebody that it makes it look good, and then so it's more of an agenda than accountability, because we're not really holding people accountable. And I think that's the biggest issue, is when you sit back and people, and again, people haven't really been paying attention to these counseling meetings, these these county meetings, commission meetings, no one's really paying attention to the funding. Because I've learned a lot just watching some of these meetings. Like last year, I did not know all this money was coming into our county until I just sat in on one meeting, and that one meeting, I learned quite a bit. So then,
exactly. Your property tax go up, your city tax. They like, hold on, it went up 8%. Right. And it was in the budget. And look, Mario, it was written in a budget 2 years ago that our taxes by 2025 is going to go up by 9%. City. So like, you had that time in between to come and show up, but guess what? When that tax go up, everybody at the meeting.
Right.
So like, Margie, so for you, what have you done since you've been back? Do you go to like how many? Because God knows every time I turn around, you're in a meeting.
Oh God.
I mean, seriously, like, because sometimes we're in the same meetings, but I'm just like, so how many meetings do you attend, and are they effective, or are they just taking away your time?
They're effective. So I'm in about maybe 4 different organizations: Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Eastern Star, and then I'm president of the Fayetteville Area Section of National Council of Negro Women. What else I'm in? I'm in a junior league. So one of the things with the junior league, they do a lot of community service. With me being a president of the Fayetteville Area Section, I am about action. I'm about partnership. I'm not about us just going to different organizations and or different events and just setting up a table. I want us to do some programs that's going to be effective in our community. And also we have to get some data from that program. So, we have what we call the Core 4 for NCNW, which we're focusing on STEM and youth. We're focusing on mental health, which is health equity. We're focusing on social justice, civic engagement, and we also focus on women health. So with that, with my program, with my team, what we are doing is I'm breaking that up to 4 different committees, and everybody should be working on one program per committee. So right now we are working on a health fair, trying to get the vaccines because we have a grant called Good Health Win. So we're working on that right now. They'll be working with me with my community baby shower, trying to get information out about mental health as well as maternal injustice as well that's happening. We're going to be doing some things with mental health. So that is NCNW by itself. Now let's move to Margie McLean Foundation, which we are doing 4 different things. Right now, I'm working with my youth. I'm getting ready to bring back up my team talk. I started that when we had COVID. And one of the things is I wanted to hear from the youth. A lot of times we come on, we talk about what the youth is going through, but I wanted to hear from the mouth of the babes. You tell me what the issue is and let's discuss it. Let's hear what you have to say. So I'm going to start that back up. I'm doing also a literacy program, which is the Rainbow Storytime. Right now we are virtual, and I started that during COVID. And what was happening was our kids wasn't going to school. They weren't getting their education. They having social issues because they went with their friends. So I say, hey, let's bring kids around. And we started having authors come and read their books. I would purchase the books of the author, and wherever the kids were, wherever they were, I would send it out so they have a book to read. We have now reached 11 countries with that, kids from 11 countries. Right now, I have a kid from France and Canada that comes on, and watching them grow is just crazy. The only issue I find with that is I have more international kids that come on than our own American children for literacy. And all we doing is just come on and hear a book. You get a book. So those are the things that I'm trying to make sure that I'm effective. I just did a therapy paint program with the kids that are 3 to 5, getting them to come in just painting, just a little ease, because they got a lot going on in education, which is another got to open the can. That's a whole different thing to talk about as well. But our kids are going through some mental health issues, whether we know it or not. And they have no outlet at all. They don't have any outlet in school. Our counselors are not doing what they're supposed to do in school because they are bogged down. The teachers, it's all about data now. So the teachers are bogged down. We're tired because all we are in is in meetings. We don't, or either we're doing duty. By the time you try to talk to the kid, it's like, oh, I got to go because I got to do this duty. So now the kid is out there by themselves. And that's what I'm noticing. Just even 21 years of teaching has changed. And so I'm trying to make some outlets where kids can come and they feel like they have someone to talk to. They have someone that's going to listen. And I mean active listening, not me talking, telling you what you feel, me hearing what you're saying, reiterating what you say, and then figuring out how we can come up with solutions for this child. So that I am in a lot of meetings, but I feel like I'm getting it done. I ain't gonna lie, I'll be tired. I can't say I'm not. It's tiresome when you're really trying to work and get active in the community and really do some things. I mean, not talking, but you actually are doing, so I'm a type, I get my hands dirty. So yeah.
And the reason why I bring that, and the only reason why I bring that up is because you're like one of the very few I was seeing the meetings, but at the same time still very active and productive.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people I see in meetings, I never see them out doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, but just some. Not to make sure I'm not saying everybody that chose the meeting, but I just want to say that was one of those biggest things I noticed about you is that you're consistent, where you attend meetings and you are still active doing things for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, you said you have a question?
So my question is this to Margie, and we're going to go back to like our kids is in a mental health crisis, right?
Yeah.
So when we first started this conversation, we discussed a lot of things. And the first thing was, hey, who's helping you do what you're doing? Is it more Black or more white, more
Mm-hmm.
males, more females? And I say that because people don't understand that mental health reflects upon the parent first,
Yes.
right? And then it trickles down to the child.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, I'm gonna get to my question, but I believe even if we was to raise salaries for teachers as well as psychologists in schools, I think it will put a heavy lift. But we also got to go back to the parenting, right? And the parenting part is something that we have to do even when your child is not in school. Like, let's think about the holidays now. How many kids are right now is in daycare or at their cousin's house,
Yeah.
right? Their parents are still working 2 jobs just so they can meet that quota
Mm-hmm.
for Christmas Day, right? And they're tired every time they get home. They don't have enough time to spend with their kids. That's why overseas, they let you stay home for a whole year after you have a baby because they want you to, indulge in your, livelihood of being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
But I ask this because I really think when you're talking about the work you're doing, I think that your work should also indulge in policy change.
Mm-hmm.
So we should definitely talk about you utilizing your legit credentials to assist with policy change. No, I'm being serious because people don't want to talk to somebody that's not legit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't know what they're talking about. So when it talk,
Mm-hmm.
we need you to go and we need you to go outside of this and do policy change as your foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can utilize your foundation to go get grants for other foundations, like the JFK Foundation, like,
Right.
Dr. Kennedy Foundation. There's so much foundations. But I think if you do policy in with that,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get money because of your credentials.
So
we
we
want to look into policy on your own, not as your organization, and definitely not as a sorority. Because believe it or not, some people don't like sororities, some people don't like organizations. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a double-edged sword. So sometimes you have to, and I have found it for myself when I go into the General Assembly or go talk to a constituent. They're like, "So you talking for you or your organization?" And once you say
Mm-hmm.
which you're a part of, oh, I don't know. So they do say that.
I think the issue with me is sometimes it's so much that's needed to be done that it's like you don't know what to pick. And it's like, I need to work on this, I need to work on that. And so it's like so much that with the policy change, it's like, man, should I work on this part or should I work on that? And when I look at our community, I mean, it's just a lot of damage out there that's not being taken care of. I'll just say within our own community. And it's a lot of work that needs to be done that I don't see no one is picking up and doing it. So we have to be able to, one of the things I think we need to do is we need to take leaders from different organizations if they want, and we have a round table and talk about what is needed in our community, and whatever's needed in our community, what part of that need you would take and focus on. and we don't need to cross each other. If I say I'm gonna take the youth, and somebody else say, okay, well, let's work together on the youth. Okay, you take food crisis, you take, and if we all are taking, the Bible says we are, one body, even though we have many members. And the finger shouldn't be trying to do what the toe doing, and the eyes definitely can't do what the foot doing. And because if you do, the body is just, it's not functioning, it's non-functioning,
right.
And it's not getting anywhere. So if I'm, I got my hands trying to do it with the feet, I'm not going nowhere. And so we need to figure out what part of the body that we are good at and work towards that, not trying to do what everybody else is doing that you're not good at. And I think that is what I'm seeing in our community. Everybody's trying to do what everybody else is doing, and nothing is getting done. We're still at the same situation. And so if that's the case, then I would talk about what is that policy change that needs to be changed. One is definitely our youth. That policy definitely need to be changed. We are losing our youth to suicide. I mean, cutting. I have never seen so much cutting and kids so depressed in my life. I'm leaving the classroom. Tomorrow's my last day as a classroom teacher. I hate to leave, but I know for my own mental health, I have to go. But I really hate to leave because it seems like this week, everything is cutting loose with our kids. And it's like, at my school, we had a situation and I see myself on the floor trying to get this kid out of the bathroom stall. I'm literally on my knees trying to make sure, looking under the stall to make sure this kid is okay, and she wasn't. But at the same time, it's like, man, I hate to leave because I know what type of teacher I am, but it can't just be me. It has to be more than and it can't just be the teachers because we're worn out. We're tired. Where's these different organizations coming and talking to the principal saying, hey, I have this program that I think would really be good at your school. So
a lot of this stuff that's going on is driven by the dollar. It's more of a profit. Right now, we're not. Some of the stuff that I've seen, some of the stuff that goes on, especially in the schools, it's like just to take a look at what just happened, where they just pulled sheriffs out and we had to put police officers in the school for RSO. I mean, it's kind of like, and then you have people actually fighting to keep the police, all this crazy stuff we got going on in these schools, and you don't want the police in the schools for protection. It's like you kind of like you sit back.
Hold on, SROs are not there for protection. You got to read the policy.
Well, I mean, when I say protection, I'm just like,
they're not. They're not there to protect you. They're not even.
They're not right. They're not there to protect you. But when something happens, they become the first line of defense.
Yeah.
So to me, what I'm looking at is in these schools, is about the money, and the money is not coming to schools. I'm looking at North Carolina fought not having gambling, lottery tickets, and so forth. But then they say, look, we're going to raise all this money by playing lottery. Okay, where's all this money going?
It's not going to schools.
It's called the Education Lottery Fund, and also unclaimed money. So unclaimed taxes that people don't pay, that goes into that fund as well, educating lottery. And also if you pay toll fees or if you pay parking tickets, all that money goes in there, just so you know.
Right. But see, that's what that you would think, because all this money is being generated from these different things. Our school system shouldn't be. I mean, it seemed like it was better before they started the lottery.
It's going out the back door. It's coming in the front door, but it's going out the back door, and it's not coming.
Yeah, but the lottery is not for the education school. It's whoever wins it. But it's unclaimed money, so they include all that in there. When you go and get a ticket for the education lottery, that is unclaimed money that somebody could have, property taxes, whatever, and they didn't claim that money. That is funded that way. Yeah. They only give 30% to the school. Am I lying, Marjorie? It's like only a certain percentage the school gives.
Right, it's a small percentage.
Don't feel it.
And they pick the school. Like it's not all schools. Yeah.
Right. It's a small percentage because if we sit back and we listen to all the issues we've had within the last 2 months with all the different school systems throughout North Carolina, that like kids going home because there's no heat. You got to take your kids to school because they ain't got enough. They can't find enough bus drivers and paying the bus drivers. I mean, the salaries alone for the school teachers are ridiculous. I look at what federal pays school teachers on Fort Liberty versus what state. And see, my wife went from working for the state, working for Fort Liberty, and it doesn't. It's like extremely.
But you
like,
know, the federal.
But it's a
curriculum
difference.
is
It's a
different.
county because I'll be working for the state coming in January, and it is a whole
difference.
increase. It's a whole difference.
right.
So that's when I found out that as a county, you know, that you get paid by the county is not as much. But because that's why the different counties. Oh, look like we lost Cat.
Yeah, there she go.
Okay. So the counties,
There
that's
she
why
go.
they have
Okay.
their own salary. But then when you work for the state, it's different. The state pays you different. But then, of course, the federal pays more. But yeah, there was a significant increase getting ready to work for
Well,
the
the
state.
federal got a different. Federal has a totally
Yeah.
different curriculum as
Yeah.
well.
Right. They
And
do.
the
They
federal
do.
also has. They don't have SROs in school because that's dumb. Because why would you have SROs in school to skill this? You know, to scare the kids and the more traumatizing kids when you have disabled kids and they go into a room and they're not separated from the other kids. That's also a part. Like everybody's in the same classroom. Everybody getting
Right.
taught the same things.
Yeah.
So that also plays a huge part in the curriculum. And then we have psychologists, we have real social workers in the school, like doing their job. So that's why we don't have SROs, but they don't separate the kids. Everybody's getting taught the same curriculum.
And I think that's where we, as a community, we're day and night when it comes to Fort Liberty versus Cumberland County.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest issues is that we have to focus more on, like, and then what you posted earlier, and I saw that it takes a village. What has changed over the years is we no longer have that village element in our
But
community.
really, let me ask y'all a question. Do you really want the village? Because
I mean,
some
no,
people-
but I'll be honest with
The
you.
village
Okay.
that I had when
I just
growing
want to be
up,
clear.
I don't know about the village now.
Because when we say a village
Yeah.
back in the day, you could go to next
Yeah,
door
the
neighbor
village
house
that
and
we
you
had long-
good until
yeah.
like 7 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Right.
The mom got home, but now you can't be doing that. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask the real question: do we really want the village?
Well, see, one thing is it was we had something that kept the families together. I think that's the only thing that was good about the village was it kept because the village doesn't exist. Families are nowhere close to being together anymore.
Mm-mm.
That's the only major difference I see is when we had the village, we were all connected, cousins, aunt, uncles, we all were connected and we all supported each other. Now it's a whole different story. Like you go in and you try to get help. The first thing is, okay, who's your local, like who's your family, where they're located. Is anyone, the first question we ask is there anyone here that can help you or assist you? I got family here, but they ain't gonna help me. They're not gonna. I mean, it's like really. So then there's a history behind why that is not connected. But then back in the days, if we had a few within our family, we were still a family and we kept it together. Now you have a few. Everybody's going their own separate ways.
Yeah.
Because there's family inside the family that you can't trust. So
Right.
like
True.
you
That's
have
true.
now you have to choose what village you want to be a part of. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Because I say this all the time, and me and you talked about it, Mario. How are we going to talk about community safety prevention when everybody don't even talk in the community? I mean, you got neighbors next door that don't talk to each other or like each other, right? You got people that lives next door and won't even tell you if my child is missing. Okay, and shut the door, right? And then it's a trust factor. We have lost trust with each other as human beings. And that's not just next door neighbor, that's even inside the home, married to husband and wife. Right? And that's where it starts at. You build the trust there so your kids can take it out and build that trust around their community as well. So if there's no trust in the home, then what you think is going to be? And we have a lot of bad parents talking about other parents that are bad to kids. And that plays a huge part on their emotion, their psyche, and everything.
And you know what? And I'm glad. Look, you must be reading my script because we're right on target. My next question is, what is the mental health climate, and why do we have so many mental health issues in our community?
I think it's generational. I really think it's generational. When you see some of the parents of the kids, and it's just pretty much that trauma that is just childhood trauma that's passed on and passed on and passed on. And if you think this is normal, then when you have your kids, that's how you do. And then when they have their children, that's how they do. And it's just generational, just keep going and going. and someone had to figure out how to break the cycle. So that's when
Right.
you need, again, you need that mental health. Like I would say for me, let me just, I always get a story about this young lady. I have to. When I was doing mental behavior health up in Richmond, I was working at a mental behavior health school, like a day school. And so met this young lady over the summer. And when I say she was rough, she was rough. And so I was more like even though I was more like it was like a battle between me and her, because I'm used to kids being respectful and you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. And I came at her like that, where other people was a little scared and what so have you. And I was like, I'm not scared of you. You're going to do what I say you do. So eventually she became one of my clients, and I started working with her mom. And it got to the point where the mom pretty much allowed me to pretty much hone in on her when I needed to. And even when they changed the Medicaid where I couldn't do it because I didn't have a degree in human health services, I still went back and checked on the mom. I checked on the daughter. When they became homeless, they called me. I checked on them, make sure they got a place to stay. And I could have just left and say, well, I'm not your client. I'm not your counselor anymore. You're not my client. I don't have nothing to do with you, But I still work with that family even still. This young lady has written a book, had dedicated to me. She's doing excellent. She has a family. Mom is doing well. I mean, and they account that to me sticking with them. Their own counselor was not doing half of the stuff that I was doing, and I wasn't getting paid for it. But I did it because I love this kid, and I want to make sure she get out of that environment that she was in. Well, when we look at this now, do we have that in this village? Do we have that type of mentality when it comes to kids anymore? I don't really see it. Even in the classrooms, in the school system, I do not see that anymore. It's like, if
People
that's not my
move.
kid,
Right.
you move to the next grade, I don't got nothing to do with you. And I've never was that type of teacher. I mean, I had students that come and hang in my classroom, it's not even my student, and they come and talk to me before they talk to their own teacher, or even before they even go to the counselor. They would come to me and talk to me because I'm open like that. And I guess I'm kind of like a mother figure to them. But the kids need that, and they don't have no outlet. That's the issue that I see.
There's no platform. There's really no platform for the children.
Yeah.
When I remember back when my youngest son, when both of my sons were younger, and they both had talents, but there's no platforms for them to, because like, what was it, the Apollo, the Showtime at the Apollo thing that they started a couple of years back, that gave them a platform to showcase their talents.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I think it went away because you never hear anything about before. But the platforms, there's not really, like growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, we had many platforms. Even if we didn't have in the schools, there was always something around in the community for us to be able to do something and to pretty much show. I mean, of course, back in the 90s when I was growing up, the 80s and 90s, there were so many different platforms and it was easy to where if you wanted to be a rapper, okay, guess what? You get on the train, go down to 5 Point, you got different places down there. So it's like now here in Fayetteville, and I'd say even in North Carolina, my father would send us here in the summertime, and it always felt like we was going back in time. And North Carolina to me has always been like 10, 15 behind the years when it comes to the children.
Yeah,
is giving them the proper platforms to perform and to do these things. I mean, slowly but surely, they're coming up to par, but but North Carolina is almost like 10, 15 years behind the rest of the United States. And I think that's the sad part. And again, it goes back to most states that are in poverty are always way delayed in upcoming things. Like, God knows AI, I don't know, we was talking about it. AI is going to completely destroy North Carolina because no one is paying attention to it. They're just now figuring out how to use their cell phone. A cell phone, better yet, what AI can do. So that's the thing that I'm.
And I teach that workshop. I teach a workshop on AI.
AI is coming. AI is coming whether you like it or not. And Elon Musk is going to show you better. He can tell you. Okay. Him getting into that administration and starting his own, you about to find out what AI look like. But I do want to say that I feel like every country has surpassed us with AI anyway. We're 20
technology, everything,
digital platform. But when you're talking about North Carolina, right, and our demographics here, which we have different, that's why I always talk about my demographics, because we have a whole United States Army base. and they play a huge part in economics as well. Because the median right now is based on a first star general and how much they make, not how much a private make. Right. So we have to talk about our own demographics because Raleigh doesn't have the same demographics as we have. Neither does Durham and neither does Charlotte, you know. But I think when it comes to the poverty part, mental health plays a huge part because guess what? If I can't get out that bed because I'm having a mental health issue, then that means I won't be able to go to work. That means I won't be able to cook. That means I won't be able to concentrate on my kids' schoolwork. If some of the parents do that, because some of the parents don't even look at the kids' schoolwork. You know why? Because some of them don't even know how to do it.
They don't. I'm telling you.
You got parents that don't know how to do anything but at the 7th grade level.
Yeah.
Some of them didn't even pass the 6th grade. Right? So what I'm saying is that part, the village has to start in the home at the end of the day. Because guess where they go back at the end of the day? When they leave Marjorie's classroom, when they leave that school, they go right back into that atmosphere. And if that atmosphere ain't healthy, guess what? Their whole day ain't gonna be healthy.
Right. But you know, and that's what's so sad is that a lot of children get more attention in the school than they do at home.
They do.
And then because there's always that 1 or 2 class. Even you go back when you was growing up, I had like all my teachers. I was able to easily connect with my teachers growing up because I went to school that was a small school. Like we were bused out of the city into the country, so we knew all our teachers, and our teachers knew all of us. So it was different. Where here it's like you go home after you go to school, you go home, and it's like bam, you know, you don't get any attention. It's more like between the tablet, the iPhone. And
the game, you gotta do the game too.
The video game. I mean, that's all that, and you go straight into that world. So it's kind of like now we're not. The family element has changed a lot in 2000.
Well, you know, I grew up in a DoD schooling. I went to DoD schools all my life. You know what I mean? And you know, my kids had also had they also had the actual way of seeing both worlds. So they went to public, they went to DoD, so they went back and forth, which it kind of helped them in a way, but it also helped them with their curriculum because I mean, of course, their GPA was a little bit higher than others, but it also helped them when it came to social skills, activities, because they got to see how the Army lifestyle looked versus how the public lifestyle looked, and then they understood the discipline aspect and which way to choose, you know, as a youth. You know what I mean? Because if you're at school all day with this bro that's talking about video games all day and not, hey man, let's learn this math problem. Then when you get home, you only gonna do video games with them. You're not gonna do schoolwork. So you know that plays a huge part as well, and that's why when you look at the federal level DoD schools, they're much higher even with their testing. Because of that, right? Because of the discipline. And also another difference is too, we hold the parents accountable.
Right. I was going to say that,
the parent got an issue because the parent can get kicked out of the school.
Yeah. Right. And that's what accountability is different.
Kick off the base because the garrison commander can kick you off the whole base. Because in order for you to go to any school, you have to live on base. But my point that I'm getting at is that the accountability part, because look at it. Show me where we really hold parents accountable in the public schooling.
We don't.
The same way that child is suspended, the parents should get some type of
Now it used to be that when I first started teaching, it used to be I don't know what happened from the time I left and came back to North Carolina, but we used to even have truancy. If your kid was missing, they coming to get that parent and they taking you to court. Why your kid not in school? Not anymore.
Guess what? They still do that in New Jersey. If the kids don't show up for 3 days in New Jersey, they go arrest the parent.
Yeah, that's what they used to do in North Carolina. That's what they used to do.
But I think that's one of the things that it goes back again to our everything has shifted to where it's about the dollar, and that dollar has more weight than anything else. The accountability has been thrown out. I'm looking at how much accountability has been completely thrown out, where once upon a time, a lot of stuff that would happen, we would hold people accountable for it. Now it doesn't, like, well, we're not going to do that. I mean, look at constantly keep looking at the mass shootings that we keep having in the school systems. I mean, that alone speaks volumes about accountability. We're not holding nobody accountable for it. Now we got to the point where we're now going to hold the parent accountable, but how many mass shootings did we get to before we start doing that? But is that really going to change anything? Because like you can see how these parents are not in touch, and then they, to the degree they encourage their children to be the way they are.
Mhm.
So our society has changed to where we're not even thinking like technology is now a substitute from that interaction that we used to have with our children.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna throw this
discipline.
monkey wrench real quick too, Mario. You may not agree with me, you may or you may not, but I
Go
think
ahead.
desegregation was the worst thing that could have happened to our community and to our school system. I really do.
I want to make sure you're clear. I'm happy you said that because Jesse Jackson said that, so did MLK.
Right.
Just so we're clear.
I
He
think
said,
that was the worst
"Are we
thing that
doing
could
the
have
right
happened.
thing?" He would always question that. He said, "Are we doing the right thing? Are we fighting for the right thing?" He would even question that in his own circle. Like Martin Luther King used to ask, "Should we be fighting for this?" He used to say that all the time.
I really feel like, I know this is totally different. I really kind of feel like we was fighting to get the same things that they wanted in school, but I don't think
Right.
they knew the repercussion after they won.
Right.
And we
Right.
had this desegregation, and
I
that
think they
also
thought
has some
that
type of
if we did the
trauma.
school first, if we did the
Yes.
school first, that we'll have everything, and we shouldn't have did
And
the school
yes,
first.
and so now you have trauma set on these kids, moving them from what they know to now going into the school, and they got to deal with all that they dealt with. So now you have that trauma, and that starts your mental health issue and that desegregation. When I'm around my own, I feel more comfortable. We have family, what so have you. But then now I got to go and fight with people throwing stuff, calling me names, open up a book. You got words in there. You got to see da da da. And that's the things that I think we don't take in consideration. That was mental health. That was a mental abuse to themselves. So I really honestly think that desegregation was the worst thing that could have happened to our school system, worst thing that could have happened to our community, our churches, what so have you, because now we are just so separate, more separated than we have ever been, I think, within
And the
our
housing and the Housing Act too. Let's be clear on
Yes.
that. The Housing Act too. Yeah.
We are. And I think that's one thing, because I look back at my high school days when my dad put us in the program, the minority to majority, and we were bused out of College Park, Georgia to Fairburn, Georgia. And I was like, every year we seemed like we had a racial fight, because everyone knew back then the Klan was strong in Fairburn. So it's like those were the things that we got exposed to. I mean, I remember the first time we came as a child, coming up against racist type stuff was when my father was stationed at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Never was exposed to it until we the one child called us the name and we didn't even know what it was. So
Wow.
it was just one of those things to where I look back at my childhood, and that was DoD schools, by the way, growing up in the DoD school system. So that's why I say I look at things now, and I hate it when and I'm going to say it, but it might not come out right, but when we're pimping out the black race.
No, you said it right,
You said
bro.
it right. You said it.
Pimping out. There we go.
We got to stop these individuals that are pimping out the black race and not even black. Not even close, never lived in that center, but they're pimping us out to gain ground, so they can show that they relate.
We got the black ones doing it too.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, you're right. It's across the board. It's always across the board to where if they want something, they pimp out the race. They pimp out the black race.
And we got a lot of them in the North Carolina General Assembly, just so you know. That's why there's a lot of stuff that's not getting passed for the black cultural people, because this North Carolina General Assembly, the black people in there is pimping us out, and they're making deals because they need to get their business up, their establishment up.
Which goes back to the question, Mario, where is the money going?
Right, exactly.
Going to the pimps.
So you're right. So you're pimping us out to get money, and then we don't even see the money, or it doesn't have any effect on the community to help us. So that's why when I think that's one of the things I hate is when I hear someone say, "Oh, driving while you're black." Okay, why are you using this? Why are you bringing this up? The reason why you're bringing it up is because it's part of your agenda of how you want things to go. Your agenda is you're trying to get this, so you're going to use the black race to get what you want. And we have so many, and that's why a lot of people, I know Kathy's going to hate what I say, but to me, I feel my feeling is I feel is that working in a governing position is powerless. You have no power because you have to follow certain guide rules. You have to play the game in a sense. And I'm just not, I just don't want to play the game because I've seen so many people that says, well, if I become city council, I can make changes. And then they get in there and they do a whole complete 180 from everything they were saying. So then I'm like,
I won't be doing the 180. I'll never do it. Even when I was in the Army, never, ever, ever. I was that one always on the red carpet with the sergeant major, like, nope. So I question, yeah, I know I'm serious. You can call people.
No, I can see that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
like, if I'm a city council member, I'm gonna be like, look, this is what it is. This is the way I'm voting. Don't come and tell me how to vote.
And that's why I didn't go into politics.
And don't tell me how to be with my people. Because one thing I'm not going to do is lay down. No, we're not doing that. So you got to let them know ahead of time and stand your ground throughout the whole thing. Because there's some council members like Yvonne Kinson that I think was great that stood her ground very much well up in there, so, and there was some backlash to that, but what I'm saying is you got to stand your ground, even against your own, even against the people that look like you on that council. You got to make sure they know that you ain't gonna be able to, you can go tell the master all you want, but you ain't gonna be able to tell on me because I'm gonna lay it down.
Right.
Again, going back to slave mentality.
Right. And that's why I said that we have to get out of that mentality to where it's like you're gonna pimp out your race, but yet you're doing nothing to help and assist. It's just like you're going to pimp out your community, but yet you're not doing nothing to help your community. You're using your community, your district to justify why you do what you do. But in reality, they don't even know what you're doing because you're not communicating with them.
But then they're using you to be able to use your community.
Right.
So really, you think you puppeting, you really are the puppet. You the one is puppet master using you to do things that, that's really hurting our community. So
that is correct. And let's also, I think we should go back to many years ago. What they call them is a statesman and a stateswoman. Remember statesman and stateswoman terminology? So I think those are the type of people we need in city council, county commissioner, and the general assembly. We need people that is real people, not people that's business owners that's trying to get more money to become a business, but get large. Not people that's trying to make big deals, behind closed doors. We need statesmen people that are the people, for the people, and look like the people. That's what we need. And there's people out there that can do that because like you or Marjorie or me, we can go up in that city council. We ain't got nothing to lose. We gotta lose.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's people out there that's like, hey, I ain't got nothing to lose. So what I came in here with, I'm gonna lead with, but I'm here for the people.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest part about being a true leader and taking charge of and doing what's right. It's like me, I hated what brought me out this past year was I hated how the leadership was doing things for our community. They were just abusing the hell out of our community for all the wrong reasons. And I think that's where I was like, you know what? I was always brought up in the military. If you want change, you better get up and do something about it. Don't talk about it, be about it. Get out and do something. And so for me, that was my goal, was get out here and do stuff. But then as I started to learn, I learned there's a lot of chaos going on that's preventing things from happening. That I started to learn that dollar is more powerful than getting someone the proper help. It's like all the resources, and then like I posted a thing, and the reason why I posted earlier, I would say yesterday, I think it was yesterday, is we don't have the resources to support our community. A lot of people say, "Oh yeah, we got this, we got this." No. You're not hearing me. We do not have the right effective resources to support. We got resources, but guess what? They're not to support the community, it's to support their pocket.
Correct.
So we have to understand the difference between those that are here to take care of the people and those here to take care of their pocket. Because if I remember correctly, we have our town doesn't even belong to North Carolina. It belongs to Florida, California, and Texas. Because most of the property is owned by people that live in those three states. So,
and that includes the commercial property.
Correct. Absolutely. And then we're just letting it happen. Like every time I turn around, another eviction happened. Well, what happened? Well, this guy from Florida just bought this house. Or a guy from Florida, or a woman from California bought the house. So These houses are being bought, but guess what? They're looking at it because Fort Liberty, the largest military installation in the United States, soldiers come and go every 3 to 5 years. That's easy profit money off of rentals. So we're and it's like for some reason, and maybe I'm not the only one seeing this, but why is there not a connection between Cumberland County and Fort Liberty?
Well, they got some things that they actually are partners with in contract, like the stadium and like the Crown Event Center. Right.
Okay.
So like Fort Liberty invested about 25 million for that stadium because the soldiers come in, even though the contract is only 8 years. Let's be clear, it's a lease stadium, right? It's not our stadium. Right. So, you know, so it's lease. But the point that I'm getting at is, you know, there is some things just like they was trying to do to E.E. Smith there, but that wasn't going to work because a lot of parents was like, well, this is federal property. So you driving up in your car like you do at a public school, you might have some stuff you shouldn't have in there. It's going to be a different scenario on this federal, because that's federal property right there. That's federal jurisdiction all up and down that road where they was going to put E.E. Smith. And there was no way they was going to move that federal jurisdiction because they would have to get permission all the way up. That would have took years, right? So what I'm saying is, you know, there is some things that they do for events for soldier. And then they also go to the garrison commander to find out if soldiers like certain restaurants. So they do a survey as well for the soldiers, you know, to see what they want. But those soldiers, like you said, is rotating. So like, who's going to give us the real accurate information?
Right. And that's what I said. I know that it's been bad.
Wild Wings. Right now they're building the Buffalo Wild Wings on post, right? And then they're going to have the Victoria's Secret, and then they have a Bath and Body Works.
And I think that's what it is that like with Fort Liberty, which was Fort Bragg, but it goes way back to Desert Storm, where things fell out with the Fayetteville, Spring Lake, all those different communities that were connected, and that's where back then Fort Bragg had a large impact on the economy here, and so that has been that's the whole story was we need to drive people away where we have to rely on Fort Liberty, but at the same time, the numbers all reflect on Fort Liberty because of Fort Liberty. The housing, oh my gosh, it is a direct reflection of that BAH.
Yeah.
My thing was no one ever told me why they put a 1-star general as the median for the BAH here.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I mean, I remember you said it before, and I went and looked it up, and I'm like,
and you know, it's the economical development individual for the state because they have so many bases in North Carolina.
Right. And the thing is,
and they're like, since they have so many bases and so many troops, we should add them in the census. And when they did that, that's when it messed up people because the regular people can't get homes.
Well, you even go back to where now you look at a private, a PV1 meets the equivalent to almost every standard for housing. But that housing requirement is you got to make at least $3,600 in order to get in.
Three times the amount.
So it's like roughly about between it depends on where you're going at. It's like close to almost $3,000. Well, if you go and you look at an E1 who lives off that's allowed to live off base that gets BAH, separate rats, everything, they meet that requirement. But anyone else in Fayetteville, you got school teachers, police officers that can't meet that housing requirement. And they've been on a job, and they're working 3 jobs. Right.
3.
So that's one of the things that I'm trying to understand is why is there such a disconnect when it comes to like what are we paying? Like what are they doing to where we're looking at our housing market here and it's completely for the whole state of North Carolina, it's ridiculous because I'm looking at the numbers. It ain't safe nowhere in North Carolina to buy a house.
I was looking at that when I moved, Mario. I was looking at when I moved back from Maryland, and I was in PG, Maryland, and I was looking at how much the housing market is there compared to here. And when I moved back, I was like, shoot, I might as well be back in Maryland because it's the same price, and not even making as much money. How high it is? $2,000 to get a 2-bedroom apartment in Raleigh. I'm like, that is ridiculous, you know, and it even is still cheaper some of the housing market was cheaper up in Maryland than moving back down here. And I was just trying to figure out why is the housing market, apartment market, all that market is so expensive here in North Carolina, moving back. But the problem is the salary is not going up.
Right. Everything is going up except for the minimum wage. Because I still can't believe what minimum wage is $7 and what is $7?
Probably
$7.25, but that's national.
That's national wage.
Right, that's national, but some states don't honor that. Like you go. Yeah,
north, I know, but I mean, they got to change that. They got to change that national wage for other states to go. Hey, let's do it.
And that's what I'm looking at is that you got people here that are making $13 an hour, and I mean they're not going to make it. I mean, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
The way they got to make it is they're eating beans almost every night. And it's crazy because guess what? That $13 up, you make too much to qualify for food stamp, SNAP, whatever you want to call it. So you're in a bad situation. And that's why I say, okay, so what is the governing body doing?
I'm happy you said that. I got a story on that. I talked to a mother of 4 kids. And we gave her some money so she wouldn't get evicted, right? This is the thing though. She told me in my face, you guys. She said, I don't care if I get evicted. I've been waiting for this eviction because my landlord was trying to do renovations, and that would have charged me an additional $250 a month for rent. So I'd rather had gotten evicted. You see what I'm saying? I was like, what?
Right.
So she rather had got evicted to get out that. That's how bad it is. I'm looking at her like, what? And she's like, and the renovations consist of good renovations, like putting more floor down and matting.
Right.
All of that would have helped, really. But I was just looking at her like, you're willing to live out of this, get evicted on your credit, okay? Not be able to go nowhere for a while, just so you could avoid extra money rent. That's how bad it is.
Crazy. Yeah, that's how bad it is. It's gotten that bad because like eviction, and that's the thing is once you get eviction, nobody wants to work with you. So then you have no choice but go into the slumlords. And when you go to the slumlords, and just like someone was telling me their light bill was $1,000. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what? $1,000? That means that they're not doing any work to that house. That means that there's a drip somewhere. There's no insulation.
Yeah.
So there's like all these issues, but this is a consistent. Like for 1 year, I've sat back and time again consistent evictions, and it's like, oh, I was sick for 2 days from work and I'm getting evicted, or I had a car accident and lost my car. I mean, it takes just a little one thing to happen. And that's one of the things that I need for people to understand. These are hardworking people getting evicted because of one minor thing. These are not drug addicts. These are not people out here. These are people they're working their butts off because they're only getting paid at $12.50, that $13 an hour, and they can't make it. It's like I was looking at the numbers. In order for you to have a successful, comfortable life, you got to make at least $24 an hour in Fayetteville in order to live comfortable. If you're not making $24 an hour, you're going to be struggling if you don't have another job.
But guess who's living comfortably?
Oh, of course, we know who that is.
Your city council members, your county commissioner members, because we're allowing them to continuously get a raise every year.
Yeah. And Mario, I'm gonna say this too.
And they have jobs.
And I'm gonna say this too. I want them to stop. I want them to stop sitting in the radio station talking about the issue, and we ain't coming up with no solution.
My thing is, you're getting paid.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started with that.
Mario, remember in the Army, we would say double dipping. You're double dipping because you're getting salary paid from the city as a council member. Then you're also working. There's some that work for the county. There's some that got businesses in the county. So you're getting double dip money, and you're only doing one job because you're not even doing the official job.
Right. I would say this. Let's go back and what you just said, Marty. You just hit it right on the nose. How is it that I'm going to go back? I'm going to say for the last 3 years, we've had a committee. The committee has been called the Homeless and Mental Health. All I want to know, besides the Day Resource Center, what have they done that has been effective in helping the homeless and the mental health issues in our community?
Well, Wait a minute. Before Margie answers that, let's be clear. The Day Resource Center was originally made and thought of in 2014. Just so we're clear. Nat Robinson brought up having a one-spot shop Day Resource Center.
2014. It took them almost 10 years.
That's what I'm like. What say what?
Exactly. That's what I'm telling you. just like in 2015, they voted on having the Reconstruction War Museum, but they just now grounded it. Remember? They just
Yeah. I did that.
Okay.
I remember that because I remember. Yeah, I do remember that because I remember when it first hit. I was just that's when I retired from the military and I was getting more involved with the community, and that's when I started paying attention to stuff. But that's what I'm saying is that's when I made that comment about the meetings. Is they have so many meetings. The homeless. I'm gonna say to make sure I say this correctly. The homeless, unsheltered, mental health committee has had numerous meetings. I don't know if they do now, but back when I did attend them, they had numerous meetings and they did a lot of talking.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing came from talk. It's just like when they were supposed to go back in and redo the whole hotel into living quarters for homeless. Okay, well, we found out that those were crooks that pretty much that we were going to give all this money to, so we stopped the program. But then what do we do with the funding? And I know they told me that they could show me what the funding. That's fine and dandy, but my thing is not even about the money. Is that what happened to the initial solution to the problem that we were working on?
Yeah.
So what they'll do is just like I don't believe like the county saying, okay, we're gonna have a homeless shelter in 2026. I ain't gonna believe it until I see it. When it comes to working with the county and working with the city, I don't believe nothing they say until it actually happens. Yeah. Look at the OCS, Office of Community Safety. How long has that been going on? My thing is, I'm trying to understand why does it take them 3 to 5 years?
Office of Community Safety was never in archives. Only the Citizen Review Board was in archives since 2000.
No, I get that part, but I'm just saying is that it's been the community safety stuff been talked about what since 2021.
No,
that's when it first came up. When was it? When did it first come up?
2022.
Okay, so since 2022, they've been talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
They've
allocated they had to do a whole survey. They did a survey. They got signatures. They did all that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, they did all that for what? Maybe 6 jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, $2+ million going in to pay for these jobs. How is that going to help our community where we have people
going to happen for another 10 years?
Thank you. So it's like that's
what I'm trying to say. Like we bypassing everything in the archives, and I mean, because you got to look at it. Every year there's a bonus for the city council. Like they just got a bonus, and then the county commissioners got a bonus this year. You know what I mean? And they're getting money for travel and stipends and everything. So what I'm saying is, we could be using that money for exactly what we're talking about: mental health and homelessness. And you can go real infrastructure started to get out of a tier 1, but you can't get out of a tier 1 until you have an infrastructure on how it started to the end. But yet we got $87 billion that was just used for the Reconstruction War Museum. And then not only that, $30 million is going to go towards reestablishing the market center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's why I say to me, and that's why I say the governing body is just not the right place to go to help people. Yeah. Because the way their timelines for helping people, by the time you come in to help somebody, they either already moved on or got locked up or something else has happened, because we're looking at an 8 to 10 year turnaround for them to come in and actually do some really work. So
or you can go in the archives as a city council member and pull things out of there that was already voted on yes on. And establish it. See, they voted on a lot of things already. Yes. All you gotta do is pull it back out and implement it. You understand what I'm saying? It's too easy.
Yep. Hello.
So
hello, Valencia.
So there's things you can do because they do it all the time at the General Assembly. Any bill that they had in there that nobody touched for years, they'll pull it all the way back out. You see what I'm saying? And take that bill and redo the bill. It's the same concept.
So let me ask this. So when you was growing up and you was seeing all the things that are going on around you as you was growing, because like when did you leave here and go up north?
I left here 2007, I believe.
2007.
Yeah.
How old were you when you were in 2007?
Oh, okay. You trying to tell my age? Let me see. I was in my 20s.
Okay, you was in your 20s. Okay. I just want to give people.
She was in her 20s.
Yeah. This is why I want to give people an idea of, kind of like you left here in, like I said, 2007. You was like in your 20s. You went up north, got introduced to a lot of different things, and you came back.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you felt after being being exposed to something different than what you grew up around?
I think the first thing I think you hit the nail on the head was kind of like going back in time again. And I felt the closed mind, everything is in a box. I'm a type I think outside the box.
Right.
And from what I see is if we done it for 20 years this long, then we're going to keep doing it. There's no need of changing it. And it's like time has changed. So that means we need to innovate a little bit,
Right.
So let's think about this, just different organizations and being around people. They don't know how to think outside the box and see something different. So that's kind of things. They just stay in that one box. This is the way we've been doing it for 20 years, how some churches do. We've been doing it this way, and that's how we're going to do it. We're not going to change and stuff. And then the other thing, one of the things you just said, our organizations and some of these programs, they have people in there who stay in there for 20 years as leaders.
Right.
And they need to move on and let these young people come
Thank
in
God.
with new ideas.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
I'm like, you
Jimmy
hold
Buck's
on
been
and be
there
president
14
for
and a half
30 years. And your mindset is still the same. Or you get people in that's around you that have that same mindset or probably won't talk against you or whatsoever you. And it's not going nowhere. It's an organization, I'm not going to put them out, that I wanted to join. But then when I saw what I saw, I was like, I don't see y'all doing anything. So I'm not going to pay money just to come to a meeting and y'all do nothing. So yeah, that's what I noticed. It's just the same people in spaces. They don't want to let it go. And then what happens is when the new people come in with new ideas, you choke them out and then they're gone. And then what happens is your organization dies because now y'all dying off and y'all done kick the young folks to the side and have new things that can take it further. You have to pass the torch. I mean, we watch the Olympics every 4 years. That's what they do. They pass the torch. You got to pass that torch.
And then see, the thing what's so sad is that we're not taking time to prepare your youth.
Oh, go ahead.
Say again?
I was going to tell you what it is. It's only 2 words. 3 words.
Well, see, my thing is,
and I'm mad you put the organization in the chat.
Only 3 words. It's the 7 deadly sins. That's what.
Right.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
It's the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
And then my thing is
in these positions. Yeah.
And what thing is when we're trying to get the youth prepared, we'll get that the generation, that one person in that generation that has the most extreme views to be there to take it, but they be like, well, dang, we can't give it to him because if we give it to him, God knows we're going to be at war with each other because like he's talking about some crazy stuff. So it's kind of like we're like we got to engage the youth to where they want to come in and be involved. It's just like I look at the voting for the last what 7-8 years, and to engage in the youth to get involved is only but maybe a handful of them that even have an interest in it.
Yeah,
and it's so sad. So when you look at the poll numbers, it's the same people voting. That's why things will always stay the same in Fayetteville because it's the same people. When you start seeing the change in the vote,
the veterans are not voting either, so it goes both ways.
Well, the veterans are comfortable.
Yeah.
Veterans, look, if the veterans, all I got to do is wake up and I'm good. That's all I got to do is wake up. I mean
and go to the
that's just there's only so many of us that are actually out here trying to make a difference in the community. Majority of them are just enjoying they're enjoying the money, they're enjoying their retirement, they're enjoying their disability, they're enjoying life. But to me, it's like, no, I can't stand to see the rest of the people. That's why I got more involved with the community, because I ain't gonna lie, when I was in the military, I can care less about the community, because my focus was to protect the country.
Mm-hmm.
But when I took that uniform off, now I gotta say, okay, now it's time for me to look at my community and do what's best for my community. A lot of us don't do that. A lot of us is like, I just want to sit back, enjoy my money coming in for disability and retirement, and I can care less, because nothing at state level is going to affect me. It's the stuff at federal that's going to affect me. So that's where they don't engage with the local government.
But everything is affected at the lowest level. So if the city council members do not engage in getting funding from the state level for your sewer to be clean, guess what? You ain't gonna get your sewer to be clean. If we don't engage, just like you see right now, what's going on with the hurricane. That's what I mean. That's local. That's still a local level push, to get that money. They got the money, but the local level got to push to get it. Hey, we need this now in our counties, because we're still hurting from Hurricane Matthew in some places. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it does start from the local level. If they're not pushing it and they're not requesting it and they're not up there advocating for it, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, because I'm looking at how they're doing I'm looking at how long it took for people to get their stuff. We're talking about 3 years after the hurricane, 3 to 5 years after the hurricane has hit.
Hold on, there's still money. There's still money in that pot from FEMA, by the way, from the city and the county from 3 years ago. It's just and they have not dispersed. Yeah.
And so to me, that's why I said the governing body is just a slow process. So the quick reaction for us to our community, I hate for people to hear this, but is that nonprofit, because nonprofits get done faster than a governing body does.
I'm gonna say this too, Mario. Too, I'm be honest with you. If there's a city council that is very successful, one of the things I believe in is, if it's not, it's always good to go somewhere else and see what someone else is doing to see if it can work.
Right.
And I don't think we do that enough around the state, period. If Raleigh is doing something where it's working, well, let me go talk to them and let's see if we can bring that here. It's outside of the box. If something's happening well in Durham, let's bring it back here and see how it will work. And if it don't work, it don't work. But at least we tried. But I think, again, we have the same people that are from here, have not been anywhere, haven't seen anything. They're comfortable in their position. If it's not going to affect me, I ain't worried about it. And then nothing is getting taken care of in the community level. One of the things I heard that you say is, I didn't care about the community because I had my uniform on, but when I take my uniform off now, because when you take your uniform off, I don't know if you're military or not, you still a part of the community. And so we have to look at that mindset too. That and be honest with you, with your uniform on, they still probably don't care about you because of the color of your skin. But one of the things we have to definitely think about is, what is it that we can do at our community level to help our people? Because these are people that's going to be voting for us. These are people who are going to be. I told my kids, if I look at them now, the students, the generation, I call them Generation Z for zombie. I said, if I see got to worry about y'all taking care of me, I am scared to death from what I see right now. But we have nobody training them. I think it kind of stopped with Generation X, Zillenniums, as they call them, what's so have you. And then after that, I don't know what happened. Like a Generation Z for zombie. I don't know what happened after that. But I can't trust what I see in my classroom, the kids I have now. I can't trust them to make the right decision for me when I get older. And I'm still going to say I'm in my 20s. So when I get older, I can't trust that. And then I definitely don't seem like I can trust the people at the top to make sure that everything is set up for me when I get to my age, So,
and then you hit it right on the nose. If you look at our U.S. Congress, then you look at our North Carolina, whatever you want to call it, whatever they're called, North Carolina government body.
Government body.
We got way too many people in these positions that have been in for years.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you should not be able to serve no more than 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
But we got these people. We got people serving 20 plus years in the same position.
DJ hair. and let's be clear, they get a pension retirement.
Well, I mean, no, I'm like, what I'm talking about is like more at the federal level, but
I'm talking about city level. They get a pension retirement from this county. Yes, so you do.
But the thing is, what's so scary is who are you going to get to put in these positions? And that's
nothing
just
to do with it. If we're going to get people out, we need to get them out to where they don't retire to where paying a pension.
right. But I'm just saying, is
you know what I mean?
We have no one,
term limit.
If we have no one willing to step up.
There's people that's willing to step up. There's people that lost the elections that was willing to step up. There was people willing to serve. But when we're talking about our youth, let's make sure we're clear, because we got to go back to like Huey, Dr. Huey Newton said.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he said that the youth will be the revolution. Mm-hmm. He said that the radical behavior of the youth is going to be the way that we're going to actually live and be able to destroy the enemies in the community. And that's the thing, because he based it off of us starting to build our own utopia and then segregating ourselves versus being inside the segregation. You see what I'm saying? So that's why his teachings, and he does have a university, just like Malcolm X has a university where he has a whole book of teachings, because we do the school every summer as Fayetteville Pat. We go through the school every summer. We go through the Malcolm X University. So we know what's being said and how they drew a whole curriculum on how the Black building communities to get utopia, to have the mindset of understanding, hey, I need to be a leader. I need to be in these rooms so I can advocate for our people. And how,
but somebody has to train them, Kathy, and nobody's training them. That's the issue.
Right,
they're not getting trained. Like they not. I'm telling you, I'm in the classroom 21 years.
I know the classroom. I'm not talking about the classroom. I'm talking about the Black youth that we have, because Fayetteville PAC offers training all the time. We post it all the time. We educate all the time. My point that as a nonprofit, that's what I'm saying. If you don't come, and Mario Hardy knows that, we train all the time. If you don't show up to get educated, what are we gonna do about it?
That's what I'm talking about. You know, I have done so many webinars, free webinars. I mean, it could be training on how to clean up your credit. It could be training on how to get a house or what's up. I can count on my hand how many of us get on those free trainings and get this information. It's like education is like it's like garlic to a vampire or something. I don't know what it is, but they do. It's like they don't want, and it's free. But then you will spend money to go to a concert. If people ain't helping you, but you get free training on how to get out of financial debt or how to financially get yourself together, and you will not take it.
I'm gonna use our youth director, and you know him, James Thomas. So you know him, right, Marjorie? James Thomas.
Yes.
So James Thomas is our youth director. When James came in this, he started with Fayetteville PAC because he was tired of gun violence here in Fayetteville, because he's from Fayetteville. Okay, and he's youth. You know, he's young. He was going to North Carolina A&T at the time that he came through. Now, when I met James Thomas, he could tell you, and he can tell you to this day, Kathy Greggs is off the chain, because the first thing I said to him is, why do you want to be an activist? Because you see what happened to George Floyd? Like, what made you come out here? You know what I mean? That's the question you got to ask. Like, why are you out here? What are you advocating for, and why are you advocating for? And I asked him that. And I said, well, you know, you're upset because your friends got killed of gun violence, but what are you going to do about it? Because this is just a march. And guess what? Tomorrow we ain't marching. That's what I said to him. He can tell you the story. And he was like, well, I want to learn more. I want to do more. I want to learn more. So he came as Fayetteville PAC for a year as a volunteer, because that's the requirements before you can be on our board. We have requirements. We have terms as well. And we also have a contract that you have to sign for Fayetteville PAC. And you have to go through the Black University and the Black Fellows every year training to understand the Black mentality, including holistic care, including mental health, including trauma. All of that comes with the training for a whole 12 weeks. Now, what James did was, because of Fayetteville PAC doing policing and a police accountability, he made a whole curriculum called the Youth Police Accountability Fellowship Program. And we was going to fund it and give a stipend to youth that wanted to be a part and see what's going on. But so what I'm saying is he's been with us ever since, and he's created curriculum for the youth. So what I'm saying is that Pacific person understood, first you got to understand why you're out here. You know, you out here because you see everybody out here for George Floyd. Okay, and I want to take pictures. But then the next day, George Floyd, you know, ain't there no more. So what do?
Right.
And that's the problem that you run into. Is
Well,
now
that's a part of
that's
teaching
where
and educating.
and
You know
that's
what I mean?
where that's where the misteaching of our youth is going to, is they're not understanding some of the things. Like, it's just like when you had all those youth came out to protest on George, did they understand why they were protesting?
And
Did
that's
they
what I would ask.
understand the concept? And that's the problem, is that it's so easy to mislead the youth.
Hell, it ain't even just the
Because
youth. I asked the adults why they were out there.
right, exactly. But I'm saying it's like you take somebody that think it's a great idea to go out and protest and then go down to the, you know, and barbecue during the pro. I mean, it's just like, so you look at it, and that's why I say you look at protesting back in the 60s and the 70s, and then you look at what we did with George, and you wonder what
Well,
is
who
going
did?
on.
Well, who did?
And I actually used that too, Mario.
Well, who did?
When we
I
do the
didn't do that.
pledge, I sit.
No, I'm not saying.
But
I'm just saying.
When we do the pledge, the kids, I had kids who would sit down. I said, "Why are you sitting?" And they don't know. I said, "Well, until you know why you're sitting, I need you to stand up. That's what I need you to do. I need you to tell me why you're protesting this. Tell me
Once
what you're doing
again,
that for."
you know, being a
So
federal,
you got to tell me why you're doing it. You're just doing it just because everybody doing it. Greensboro, we had a walkout. The Latinos had a walkout one time, and I asked them, "What you walking out for?" And that's when, you know, you had your president wanting to send everybody back and things like that. And so the kids did a walkout. And I get it. But I want to know if you really understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Not that you're just protesting. And then even with the teachers, we had a protest. And I remember going to the protest when I was in Greensboro. We all went to the protest or what so have you. But I was like, it's not going to really make a difference when we protest one day. We come back, we go right back to school. Like, it worked. And one of the students said that. They said, y'all only protest for one day. That's not going to make a difference. I said, you're absolutely correct. You got to do more than that. And you got to know why you're out there. You're not just up there, you know, singing the song and we shall overcome. You know, you need to know why you're doing it and why it's going to be impactful to you. So, and
the thing is with the protests, like when you have a protest now, it's like technically your life is not in danger. Like it used to be. Like you will go and protest back in the days, and you might not come home.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like the misleading and the misteachings. Some protesters are effective because they're properly trained for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have these other ones, they see it just because, and it becomes an issue. I think she jumped out by mistake. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of those things to where we got to do better with training our youth, because when we put these into positions, why are you doing this? Why are you getting involved? Why are you trying? What makes you want to make a difference in our community? Because, and I think that's the biggest issue that I see, is that the ones that we need to be focused are being misled by the wrong people.
Yes. Yep. That is true. But
yeah. Ooh, here we are, almost at 2 hours again. Good
I know. And you know what? I was thinking about us too talking. It's just so many layers. We just kept, you know, which is a whole different show. I'm like, we just kept pulling layers.
We can't, it's like we just tapping on little thing. Okay, bam, bam, bam. But this is, like I said, this has been really educational. Yeah, definitely for me, because I actually learned a lot from tonight. But I think, like, for you, what like the future, in order for us to have an impact on our future here in our community, what do you think we need to do?
I think in order for us to have an impact on our community, we need to first figure out what are the issues that we have within our community. And we need to come up with a plan for those issues. And I mean, I would say we need to do a roundtable of our leadership and see who is willing to work together. That's one. We need to make sure we have that. We can't do it by ourselves. So we need to get some of our leaders, know who is in it, you know, for the purpose and for the cause. And we need to do a roundtable and say, okay, what are the issues that's in our community? And then from there, come up with a plan. But no need to come into the table if you're going to sit and argue about the solution. And then at the end of the day, you have nothing to go forward. You just sit, you argue back and forth, who's going to do what, this is what it is. And we can talk about the issues all day. For me, my ADHD is not going to allow me to come and just listen to you talking. I'm like, okay, we know what the issue is. Now what we're going to do about it. That's me.
Right.
Don't sit for 2 hours telling me this happening, this is happening. Okay, we know that's happening. Now what are we going to do going forward? I'm like that anyway. I'm like, okay, enough is enough. I done heard you talking, complaining. Okay, what are we going to do about it? We noticed the issue. And that's what I think we need to have. But we can't tackle everything. We need to make sure that we are intentional on what we tackle. So maybe this year we tackle the youth and, entrepreneurship with the youth. We have to get that, done. And it's going to take longer than just a year. But we need to make sure that we have something that's purpose. And then the next thing we look at, okay, well, this is the next thing. Then we move once we have accomplished that. Then we move to the next thing. But we can't try to tackle everything at the same time, because then it just becomes too much. We get too overwhelmed, and then next thing you know, the whole program gone, and we ain't getting nothing done. So,
and I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Is like when I came on board, and it was so smooth. I don't know why it was so smooth. But all I did was I went out and I found all the key nonprofits that were getting things done. No funding, no funding support through the official channels, just getting things done. So Miss Lindsay was the first one. Self-Wish, she was the first one I came in contact with. I got a good understanding of what she was doing. Then we're good to go. Then I went to go see what Carl was doing. Mr. Pringle, I got a good understanding what he was doing. I saw what Erica was doing. I saw what Soul Harvest was doing. So I saw all what they were doing, and they weren't being funded, but they were working effectively to make a difference in the community. So all I try to do is I connected the dots, and when we connected the dots, we became extremely effective. And then we started pulling other nonprofits in, and we started to get more done as I would say more as a unit than anything else, because we all on the same sheet and we always getting it all done. What messed up was we reached out to the wrong nonprofit, and that one nonprofit really messed things up because they weren't on the same page we were on. They were just going through the emotions, and that's where things got thrown to the side. So it's like you have to be careful who you line yourself up with, because if they're not the same as you, they don't have the same objective, they can mess things up. And just that one nonprofit, it just messed up everything that we were working hard for. So here it is now, going back round two, and trying to bring things back together and focus. And that's what you said earlier, is we got to get the right leadership that is serious about helping the community. And we all got to work together.
And the other thing too, Mario, too, you have to go out to the community and talk to the people.
Yes,
you got to know what they need, because a lot of times we create these programs and it's not what they need in that particular community. One of the things that I like what you and Kathy do is you do the ride along, and you get to see the community, and possibly I don't know if you get to talk to the people or what so have you, but a lot of times we don't go into the communities and say, what is it that you need? What problem do you see? So now I'm bringing this program to you, saying, okay, you need socks. Well, I don't need any socks. I got plenty of socks. That's not what I need. I bring the sock program into this community. That's not what they need. They need shoes. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that we don't do. What we programs that we think they need, and it may not be what they need. And so it's not effective. Then our program's not effective at all. So
But what you said though,
well, we don't do that. We go and do a real assessment. We go do a sit down.
No, I know that. We talking in general.
So
we talking in general.
What I'm gonna tell you that me and Mario Hardy saw, even with the people we actually invited to come out with us, right, Mario? So there was some organizations, including some officials, that came out with us on the ride along, and they only came out there one time, and we found out that some of the organizations didn't want to assist because I guess they wasn't the center of attention per se, Mario. Because we had
we talk about that in the
beginning,
Mario.
You had the churches out there. You had too many people out there. They're like, wait a minute. I want y'all to pay attention to me. I should be the only one doing this. Like, that was the attitude. Am I lying? And then we never seen a certain official that actually has the biggest problem in the city of Fayetteville with a tier 1, but one time, and he didn't go and talk to nobody. So, that plays a heart. That is also a problem, the narcissistic attitude of the organization leader. because they didn't want to be a part of something that was helping human trafficking victims, poverty victims, and everything, because they wasn't the ones doing the work. Ain't that something?
And that was the point I was making. The fact that you two actually go and do the ride alongs, talk to people. We have to do the same thing, is be able to go and talk. So if my that's why I said I would like to do relaunch my teen talk show, because I got a heart for children. So I want to hear what their issues are, not just come and create this program and then it's not going to be effective to them because it's not what they need. So that's the things that we lack too. We don't do the research part before we just come and throw a proposal just to get this grant. So,
and what's so funny is they still giving the grants to them even though they don't have the research.
Right. And that's that's one thing I will say.
So Margie, maybe you just need to write the grant based on the RFP so you can get the money and then show them how it's supposed to look in the end, right? Like sometimes we have to give them like the real tools of how to do it. You know what I mean? Like you'll be the one to say, here's my stats. And they're like, well, we didn't ask for those. Well, this looks better. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, see, that's why with the chief of police, and that's why I'm gonna give him credit, because the chief of police, and this is the thing I hated, and I'm gonna say it publicly, I hated about a city council was they undermined everything he tried to do to protect and help our community. I mean, some of them, they stood up for the chief, and I'm grateful that they did that. But when the chief when he took us out that night, the very first night, he took us out there that night. We had a long meeting before we went out there, and we went out there. I met, and Kat, do you remember this? The young man, and I asked him, why are you in this situation? He never committed a crime, never done any drugs. He graduated from high school, and his family kicked him out at the age of 18. So him and his girlfriend living out of the motel on Briar Boulevard by the Burger King, just so they can work and pay for them place to stay. I was sitting here trying to puzzle this whole situation. What happened to where he wasn't giving any other opportunities to do better for himself? And as we sat and we talked, and then we have that one mental ill lady that came up, and she was talking about how people took her stuff, and we helped her take her stuff up to her room. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching everything. That one night was pretty much, it was a good description of everything that was going on in our community. I mean, it was so crazy. And then what happened, Kat? We got called because they found a dead body. So in the middle of our situation, we're riding.
And we go out, ride along, we go see it. Well, we didn't go see it.
And this is, and just, so if you look at just that one night that we're out there, and I see why the chief was doing insane. You won't understand the chief's true nature until you go out and see everything. And then once you see everything, it makes perfect sense on what the chief is doing. Chief Brady, like I said, he was really trying to make a difference and help the community. And he was trying to he didn't want to be the center of attention. He wanted everything to be done in the background. And that's why I said when I hear this one city council member who doesn't do nothing for the community besides go to these, take pictures with all the high-end people, what are you doing for the community? Oh, you give a couple of dollars for an organization. That's all you're doing? You're just throwing money at the problem? And then you have the nerve to question a man who has been doing this for almost his entire life, got shot in the process of working for our community.
Got shot several times. But these are the leaders that we are consistent. Like, we have this one, and that's why I say it is like, yes, he is the youngest one on the board, but he's the most he is just completely out of control. Well, so we had one before him, though. We had Miss Ingram. She was the same way.
Well, that's a different type. That's a whole different. I mean, my thing is that her attempt to do things was different than what he knows what he's doing. To the degree she was learning as she was going through. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to use his power and his authority to come in and take over the city. It's like this dude is like, I mean, it's like a terrorist. They're like little terrorists coming in and trying to take over our city, and trying to do it their way. Versus like, yeah, we don't need no police at all. Just kick all the police out of here. We can take care of our own. Really? Have you not paid attention to the news? How many times we turn around the news, someone's getting killed in Fayetteville?
Yeah, but that's somebody we're talking about that don't even live in his district. He lives in a higher district. He is an attorney, and he doesn't live nowhere in the poverty of understanding poverty. Never has he lived in poverty because his family got money. So that's what I mean. Like,
but that's what. But I think that's what it is that it hits different.
Yeah.
When you come up when you grew up and you grew up in poverty, you grew up being homeless, you grew up with mental illness all the way around you. When you come up, you understand the situation just a little bit. But I'm gonna say a lot more, but a little bit more because you've been exposed to it and you've experienced it in some degree. The way Chief brought us, like the way he showed us all the stuff, and it to me that showed me he was a true community leader. Forget about the police uniform. He cared a lot about the community. And that's something that you're going to take someone who cares about the community and beat them down just so you can meet your agenda. Yeah, just driving my black. Really, you're going to pimp out the black race just so you can get voted on?
and you never got a traffic ticket in your life, and you're not black.
That's my case. But this is look.
That part.
I'm telling you, we can. I'm saying this. We can go on forever and ever and ever. Like, we are at 2 hours, and we're
keep pulling back layers.
But this has been a great episode. Ms. Martin, look, like I see you right there with me. That's why I say that every time I'm out there, when I see like me, Kathy, it's every time I turn around. It's like when I'm out there, boots on the ground, I see you and I see others in the community that are trying to make a difference. And yet we have no financial backing. Yeah. We have the most greatest impact on our community. So for all those that are getting the funny, we're waiting for y'all to catch up with us. Do something. You know, hey, if you can't do it right, give it to us and we'll show you how it gets done.
And I want to say thank you for that, Mario, for saying that, because sometimes, you know, when you working hard like this, it's almost like it's unseen. And I don't do it to be seen or what have you, but I want to make sure that people see that it's an impact in the community. But I'm definitely not doing it to be seen, of course. But I thank you for that. So at least I know that someone is seeing that what I'm doing and that it's actually impacting our community, not just me just doing it and spending my money for naught. Because like you said, I'm not, you know, now I will say I do get donors that donate things, and I appreciate every donor who has ever donated. But of course, majority of it is coming out of my pocket. But I do it because I love the people, you know. So and that's what's amazing to me across the board. It's always the people who are willing to sacrifice their own dollar to make a difference. It's not the ones getting all the money. It's the ones that are giving out of their own pocket that are making the change and the impact on our community. And that's the part that blows my mind. Is like every time I get involved, it's like opposite day. For the ones that don't have the money are making a big difference, and the ones that have all the money are not doing nothing. Yeah. So it's like, what is really going on? And then God knows what. When I do see you sometimes,
everybody coming out during Christmas. Where everybody at all year?
Look, that's why. Look, I'm just.
After Christmas, people need money. After Christmas, people need food.
All I'm looking at it now is I'm looking at Christmas as a break. I'll let them come out here, let everybody get their little, get their thing, and then I know come January it's time to hit the ground running because it's only going to be a few of us out here doing the work. Yeah, it's only going to be a few. Like everybody's out here doing the Christmas.
I want to say I thank both of you all for your public servancy and for you to not only serve the people but God's people, because that's what true public servancy is serving the people without the means that you need, but because you're doing it out of love of my brother and my sister. And you like, you knock on my door, I will give you food because you're hungry. I will give you that. I will give you that shirt because you are naked, right? So at the end of the day, we got to go back to either we are, all these people, Christians, that includes the reverends around here, because there's some reverends I went to for some money, and they like, if they don't go to my church, they ain't paying no tithes, all of that, okay? They ain't paying no tithes, we can't help them.
That's a whole nother show right there.
Okay.
And I'm a PK too, so that's a whole different thing.
Let's not talk about those ones, because I know every last one of them, and they know who I'm talking about. Okay. So what I'm saying is, when we talk about the Christianity part, we're doing what we're supposed to do that the Lord told us to do, because the only reason why we're on earth is to love one another. And without that and subtracting that, guess what? Humanity is not going to survive. We're not going to survive because we live off of each other. We're not helping each other. That's what's going to happen. We all dead. That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
then we got, oh God, we got to get off here. But then we also have to remember that we once was there. Oh my God, we get to a certain house and now we forget that we once was. I remember when we didn't, my family growing up, my parents just got married. I remember we didn't have the best. I grew up on a Mert, so we didn't have the best. I remember, heating up the house with the oven, a croissant heater, you had to dry your socks in the oven, and then also, we had it. Well, we didn't have any money. My dad worked himself, until he got where he did and had a nice building and everything like that. But I remember we didn't have food. So my pastor came and dropped off. So I get now to a position where I don't have to worry about that. Well, I would say I'm only a paycheck away from worrying about that. I say that, but not worrying about the way I grew up. But now I forget those, so when I left and we moved from the Mert, I always went back to see my village and and made sure that I let them know, thank you for raising me. You helped raise me as well, and we forget that. We forget that. So.
And that's one of the things that people are like, when you get exposed to things, and I think that's one of the biggest things, when you get a tap of everything. I've seen it, like when we go through different things in our lives. I mean, I remember, like I'm just here thinking what you're saying. I remember where we lived in my grandma's house that didn't have plumbing, and you had to go out to the outhouse. I remember
that's my grandfather.
And I like a lot of stuff I look at now. We did some stuff that I'm like, it wasn't even healthy for us, because I remember, I'm not sure. Have you ever had like at the house they had the the potbelly stove in the middle, and you had to put stuff in it. We would take tar, like I guess the tar pieces off top of a roof, and they would put that in there to and I guess it provided more heat because it was like cold. But here it is, we're breathing all this stuff in.
Yeah, dangerous.
And I mean, I'm looking out like all the things that we did. Like I said, you put the pot, the little silver pot with the water in it just so you could take a bath. I mean, those are things that we had to do growing up. So we came up hard and understand the importance of working hard.
Yeah.
That somehow, some way, those lessons got misplaced.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way. Some of us, like, you know what, we don't want our children to go through this, so we're going to give our children everything.
Yeah, that's our fault.
And that's where now we have our, like, the youth where we are, is that now everything they're entitled to everything.
Entitled, God knows, yeah.
And then hold on, social media plays a huge part in this too, because we show people that don't have to have jobs, don't have to be educated, making money. So that plays a part too. You know what I mean?
Do something stupid on TikTok.
You can be working. You can be the hardest working family father and wife, and been married for years, but your kids is looking at social media like this is the easy way out. I don't want to have a headache. When I see you, Mom, I used to see you come home with a headache, or Mom, you was always tired. I don't want to be like that. So they want to be exactly how they see on that social media as well.
Listen, when my students told me I could sell my feet and make some money, I was like, because teaching ain't paying. So.
Yeah, you know what?
No selling toes, girl.
I started thinking about it.
Look, you gotta make sure ain't no toe jam in there. You gotta get a pedicure.
I sure was. The teacher ain't paying. I'm like, woo.
I remember that like it was yesterday. One of the employees at the skating rink, she quit the skating rink because she was making almost $1,000 a week just doing something on I think it was TikTok, TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what could you possibly doing to be making $1,000 a week? I'm like, I said, dang, I need to go look into this, because I'm like, maybe I can make $1,000, but that's what our society's come down to is the quick buck. Everybody's looking at the quick buck. It's like, I mean, I'm looking at the hip hop industry back when we were growing up to now. Most of these rappers are not even making it to the age of 30 years old. And it's crazy. I'm like, okay, so you're making all this money, but yet you're still getting caught up to where you're getting killed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, make it make sense.
And then you got to get money from other rappers to get buried. Make it make sense.
So that's why I said it's like and that like and then for most of my youth that wanted to become artists, I said go back if you really want to learn, go learn from the mistakes of the others.
Yeah.
I always tell look at TLC, look at how they made all this money and were broke.
Not reading the contract. Not you got to read.
Right.
Reading is
I mean,
essential.
because like you look at New Edition, TLC, look at their stories. Bobby Brown, I mean, go look at all their different stories on how they're manipulated out of their own money. And they're like everyone thinks it's a good movie, but I'm looking at the lesson in the
Don't
movie.
forget about Whitney Houston, her own dad.
Yeah.
She had to sue him because of money he
Right,
stole.
right.
Okay. Beyonce too. She had to sue her.
And
dad.
you
That's
know,
why
a lot of the kids think, well, I can get my accountant to take
That
care of
was
my
the big
money.
one.
I don't have to count. But I'm like, do you want somebody really to be handing up? That means that they can be slipping money, and because you don't know how to count, you can't look at your numbers and be able to tell something that's they finagling my numbers. So I'm like, you listen, we can stay on here for forever talking
Yeah,
about
we
how
can,
the education system. So
But I gotta go to bed because I got
I
a
do
job.
too.
I
Well,
gotta
I
get
actually
dressed up and
got
go
an event
on Full
tomorrow.
Liberty. I got a job.
See, I actually got an event tomorrow, so I gotta be up at 8. Well, I gotta be there at 8 in the morning to set up for a Christmas party.
I gotta be over there. I gotta be at the One Source Center, Day Source Center at 8 o'clock too. I gotta drop off these toys.
Yeah, I got.
Oh no, mine is at the Second Harvest location.
Okay, I'll be at the Resource Center because remember they're having the festival, Winter Festival there
Right.
at 11 o'clock, and they're gonna give
Right.
out toys and clothes and all that. So I got some hygiene
And
stuff.
we dropping
It's like
off
about-
at Cape Fear Valley, so that's what we doing. That's for the.
I'm saying there's
peds,
like
so.
about 8 different events going on tomorrow and Saturday. So yeah.
No, I'm just dropping stuff off. I ain't staying. I gotta go to work because I got a job and it ain't on social media and it ain't my toes. But hey, we gonna talk about that toe. Look, we gotta talk about that toe thing though because I
I'm
got
gonna say don't hate.
Okay,
I
I
hear
got
they
some
making
pretty
money.
feet. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, my toes look like fingers. I can't help you on that one.
Somebody like it. Somebody like it.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. We'll be back next Thursday. I guess next Thursday show is Where's the Money? All right. So look, y'all be safe. Have a great time. From a people, stay on because all I'm gonna do is we got the thank you, the show thing, the credit, whatever that thing is, the ending, and then the credit. There you go. That's it right there. Look, I'm still on my mind. I'm still thinking about my feet looking like toes and my toes looking like feet. You know, but so all right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a great night.